Hello there voltage modular people, PoohBear here and welcome to my channel. We're going to go over a big meter today. It's quite a straightforward device. It's a voltage meter, it's a rolling voltage meter. So this would be its current value, and when it receives a new value it just pushes that down and everything gets moved down one and the bottom row gets thrown away. So it's forever rolling, which gives you the opportunity to stop and analyze the data that is going on. Sometimes it's not too helpful for something like an LFO. To be honest, if I was analysing LFOs, I probably would go for something like some kind of oscilloscope to look at that. But at the same time, we can actually do stuff with LFOs and in the big meter, and I'll demonstrate that a little bit later. Got a simple input, so this would be your voltage in. There is an in button here, so we can actually disable the input if we need to. There's a limit display button here. So at the moment we're looking at the limit display, which makes it just look a little bit pretty. But if we click on that, it automatically shows you the underlying value, so you can actually get even deeper into the figures itself. And you can also click on any of these and you can actually copy that value out and put it into Excel, or you might want to put it into your dev environment. You can do what you wish with it. We've also got this reset button, and the reset button has a CV in, that's a trigger in. With all my devices, it doesn't matter if you put a trigger or a gate, my devices are set up to handle either, so you can just push that in, and what it would do, it would actually reset these all back to 0, and if this was in the off position, it would turn it on. So I could obviously turn this off, set whatever I need to set up, because it could be quite a complex thing that I need to obviously set this back to 0, then start monitoring. Well, I can just fire a trigger in here, which is the equivalent of hitting that reset, which is reset the device to 0, turn that on, and immediately we come up with a figure, because obviously if this wire is attached, and it's immediately read it and said, well, here is that current value. I'm just going to turn the limit display back on because it makes it just a little bit prettier. We have some filtering options which can be accessed via this options button, which will bring up this filter screen. We can round the result, so as the input's coming in. So I suppose one little thing which is semi-important, this limit display is kind of happening to the data we've got stored in, whereas really the filtering options is happening to the data that is actually coming in. So I can actually start turning the round button on, and even though I'm turning the round button on, it's actually analysing the data coming in, and hence it's actually said, well, that was our old value, we've rounded it up now, it's a new value, so it's now shifted it down. And again, as you move up, it will actually, well, probably because there's a 0 there, so there's nothing to shift. So it works it out if it needs to move it or not. And let's put the rounding all the way back up again, so we can turn it off again, so we can round the result coming in. We can also look at the difference, so we can say is something greater than a range we put in here or less than the range we put in here, and we can obviously put quite precise values in here. We can just grab the first 8, so the first 8 are fully populated, and then it turns itself off, so it automatically populates it up to 8 and then turns itself off. If you hit reset or you click on the in button, it'll grab the next 8 results and stops again, and the next 8, and so on and so forth. We also have this unique button. When unique's on, and again I'll demonstrate that in a little bit later, is if the value's already been selected, already found, and it comes in again, it will actually move it to the top, and so it stops the counter from becoming totally rolling. And I'll show a circumstance where that kind of thing comes in handy as well. So the round you've just seen, and by the way, this is all stackable, so I can have rounds, I can do my difference, I can have the first 8, and I can have unique on as well. So they all stack up on top of each other. So as I say, we've got the rounds, so that's quite straightforward. Let's turn it off. Let's go and actually grab ourselves an LFO and shove an LFO in. So we've now got ourselves an LFO on. And by the way, if I click anywhere on the filter page, it will actually just remove it, or obviously I can click on the options and click on the options again to go back and forth. So we've got ourselves our LFO running. As I said, well, this is quite hard to analyse an LFO in this sort of way, so it's not very good. Obviously, it might be handy if I wanted to grab something, I pause it, and now I can actually work out the value difference between what's going on with the LFO. Okay, that could be one thing. What I find a little bit more helpful with an LFO is we can turn the difference on. So I can actually say to it, I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to probably be around about, somewhere around about there. Let's turn that on, let's see what we get. Okay, so what we're actually doing now, we're actually capturing the middle part of the LFO. So obviously, because it's on the sine wave, the bottom part's really crunched together, the numbers are really nice and close together, and as it goes up, the numbers actually get wider apart. So we're actually sort of capturing that. And obviously if I was to go the other way around, then really theoretically we should capture the top bit. So we're now capturing the top bit, and now we're capturing the bottom. In fact, that's the top bit, and now that's the bottom bit. It's actually capturing the very bottom bit and missing out the middle bit. And obviously you can really define what you want to search on there. So let's just turn that off a second. As I said, we've got our first 8, so let's just capture 8. If I was to click reset, there's the next 8. I can obviously, as I say, click in, and it's going to grab the next 8 and the next 8. The final option is the unique mode. So for that, I'm just going to untick that for a second. I'm going to grab, let's grab a signal at my storing forward. I'm going to hit a reset, and let's just turn this off. So what I've got in my storing forward, I've just happened to have 4 CV signals, which I've just whizzing out, and these are the 4 CV signals, and because they're obviously only 4 signals, they're forever being moved up to the top, because obviously it's finding a match, so it's always going to move up to the top. So where this comes in handy is I'm going to use my trig data here. I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to spike it with a bit of voltage. Bam, spiked it with a bit of voltage, and here it is. So it could be you're doing something and you know something's wrong. Your A might not be 100%. Well, at least with this, I can say I am now 100%, something is happening. You still might not know what, but at least you know you're not going mad. Or it could be that obviously I can come along here and I can say, well, let's actually pause this a second. Whoops, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. It might help if I click on the right screen. So I'll pause this and I can go, well, look at this. This is this number here. Ah, so it's this figure, this figure. I know exactly the voltage which is coming in here now. All right, I know it's 5 volts, but obviously I can then obviously work it out from this. And that might help me as well. So it's just to help you try and analyze things. So that's where that comes in handy, unique, is when you have figures where you know you're kind of rolling around. Going into the difference does sort of help with LFOs. And in general, I just find this just like really handy, especially the fact that obviously you can come in, as I say, and you can sort of copy and paste your data out as well. Well, I hope you enjoy Big Meter. Thank you for watching.